say anything. Yo, guys, we're here with my boy Adam. Adam, do you watch the Happy Pill Project on YouTube? Of course. Yeah, do you like?
I love it.
Do you share?
Of course. Subscribe, share, and like.
Like, you leave a comment?
Oh, of course.
Of course. Yo, be like my boy Adam. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment.
Us.
Us. Been working all different combos from omoplatas, all different combos, arm bars, but everything had ended with a leg lock entry. I'm going to keep the theme going so that there's a combination, but I'm going to go from all different angles to get to the legs. So, down on your back for 1 second. All right, so we're going to pass guard, right? So we're like this, and this is how this happens. Come on, sit up for a second. We've clapped hands like this, and now I'm here trying to grab onto his hands. He wants to grab onto mine too, right? And that he wants to grab onto my hands because he wants to manipulate my hands, drag them across, maybe arm drag me, do all these things. So my first reaction is I come in and I try to take control of his hands, okay? My second reaction is I'm going to pick a side on what side I'm going to flare to, okay? Whatever side I choose to flare to, my head position is going to be on the other side. So if Ethan was laying down, this is the center line of his body. My head is either going to be center line or on the far side pectoral. But do not keep your head and hip on the same side. That's how you end up getting guillotined. I also want to use my head as a functional tool to drive him because I want to put him back supine so that I can move and flip my hips and all these things, right? So I like this, and I'll go really slow. I've taken control of his hands, and the only thing I want to do is use my forearm as a frame so that I can wedge inside this knee line and flare one hip because I want to get rid of this butterfly. If he's not going to hook me with that butterfly, I'm just going to do it with my hand, right? So you don't even need this, and potentially you could be sitting like this. Sit back down for a second, right? So I'm going to ask him to sit down so everybody can see the hands, right? So if he was like this, he got deep butterflies, I got to get rid of one. I'm going to accept that you're going to keep the other one. So I'm going to ask him to stay up like that, and then I'll do it with him up so everybody can see. I'm like this. I just grabbed onto his hands, and now we're fighting, and he's trying to release his hands. So I'm going to use my forearm as a wedge inside his knee line. Remember what I said, though. Your head position doesn't do this, right? Your head position had a purpose to get to that far side pectoral. Man that wins the inside pocket with his head a lot of times has a distinct advantage because a lot of the things that he potentially wants to do, come up for 1 second, arm drag me like this, elevate me, like all these things, right? If I have my head position here, none of these arm drags are going to set, right? Even on the arm drags like this, where I take my head, I reset, it's the same position, right? I just skipped a beat, and I'm already from the beginning starting with my head position. But that's the same recovery, right? So lay back down. I'm like this. I'm taking control. I make a wedge, okay? Because I want to get rid of one. I'm going to accept what he has on the other side. So my first reaction is I push this away. I flare one hip. So we're looking like this. Come up for 1 second. So if you saw me live, this is what I'm doing. I'm touching and I'm pushing down with my frame. Lay it back down so you saw my head position. I've made my first frame. I flare my hip to get rid of that, okay? We're going to keep it simple because I do want to pass, right? So we're going to go back to the legs in a second. I've gotten rid of this hook, and now I'm like this coming forward. I want to end up with my head on one side and hips on the other. Seems like a simple equation, but I got to gradually get there incrementally. So when I flip my hips on this flare, my whole goal at this point, and there's nothing, I'm going to tell you a bigger picture at this point. I'm hoping on this flare that when I bring my knee line that we're two behind one, two knees behind one. I don't really care if I didn't because we are now incorporating leg locks. So potentially I could just drop this in the middle and now start coming at different angles. Either pass with this step, bring this knee line up, cut, back step on this leg. Potentially, we will get there, but potentially he could try to shrimp on me. So I see if I can get underneath this leg to come back, right? So I'm looking and reading what your reaction is at this point. We're not getting there yet, right? So let's do the pass first, okay? We'll keep it simple. I'm like this, and we'll go through a whole bunch of series because remember what I said? I've said this before. Man that controls this pocket, the triangle, is dominant player, right? So I do want to get in this triangle, but I would prefer to play the cards in my favor a better way, meaning that if these were like, if this all had like labels like in a card deck, this might be kings, and then me putting that leg in the middle might be a jack. I still have like a good deal, but it's like, it's not as valuable as the other one, right? So I would love to do this. I'd love to flare, bring my knee line and drop it 2 behind 1. Now we're like this, okay? We are 2 behind 1, and we've just landed at this point. He's pushing and pushing and pushing. No big deal. He'll have different pushes. Most likely, right, he's going to put both his hands on my shoulders, and I can't advance when that happens because I can't crack the elbow lines because I'm down here and he's pushing away. No big deal. We're not going to go for legs yet, okay? When I bring this leg up, this leg will have different angles on this kneecap, okay? And I'm explaining this larger story, and if you forget it, don't worry about it because we're going to capture it in drilling. When I first landed, he's pushing on both shoulders. When I come up like this, I'm going to be on the outside of this ligament. So I'm going to drive the angle this way. Please cooperate on the bottom because you might say to me, well, he did this or he did. Yeah, I know, but then you react differently. So I'm telling you how this reaction happened. And every time he moves a little bit like this, a little bit like this, a little bit like different reaction. Every time he moves 4 inches, that pass moved already. Right? So I say it's better than chess, right? Keeps changing. I'm like this. I've gone on the outside of the ligament. I'm going to drive him this way. There is nothing here. His hands can no longer reach me. They've maxed out. So I didn't go in for strength, right? Before I was like this, and he's pushing and pushing. But I come here on the outside of the ligament. I'm not falling back because I'm going to have, if I fall back right now, I'm going to have an issue hooking this heel. He'll determine when the heel's exposed. So if he shrimped, he gave me the heel, right? But he didn't shrimp. He's over here fighting all this muscular strength and pushing and pushing. Okay, so I take my secondary leg. I don't go into the strength. I move him this way, right? So now I'm on the outside, easily ready to come around, okay? I'll do it again, right? Pretty simple. All it is about angles, right? And movement and manipulating angles and movement. Like, that's when it becomes like a little bit magical to them because they go, I don't understand how you passed. Like, you didn't really do much. You really did a lot, but you did it really technical, right? I was like this on these hand grabs, right? Sit over there. We go, okay, you see this all the time. Ready? You ready? Oh, yeah, how's your weekend? Boom. I'm like this. Back up 1 second. I was like that. Where would I go? That way. I just hit this on the inside there. So my first reaction would be to flare. What's my second reaction? Drive up to that pectoral because it would be here, right? Ethan's probably going to stabilize me as I'm coming forward, and he's jamming up his knees. And I go, okay, I can't go past those hands. I brought this knee line up. Where am I going? I'm not going into this strength. I'm not going to flip. I'm just going to stay here and start pushing you this way. So now you're looking this way where I'm coming this way, okay? Last time. And just do the move, okay? Because we're going to change the angle of that knee line as he turns it on, okay? I'm like this. I go clap hand. I just showed you before. It ended up over there, right? But I go clap hands. We're like this. I go grab onto hands. Where's my head going? Pectoral on the other side. Whatever the pectoral I pick with the head, it's going to be the opposite of what my frame positions are in here. I'm going to ask this person to do another thing for me. Don't put your legs like this, right? Because if your legs were like this, I wouldn't be putting my hands like this. I'd be popping them out of the side already, right? So this is determined because your legs are wide and you got your hand positions in the center, right? They're up. You're protecting the center pocket. Your knees are wide. So that determines me going this way, okay? Whether I step in the center, but the problem is I can't step early because you're blocking the pocket. So I got to go flaring, right? So now we go clap hands. I've got in position of this forearm on the inside, lay back down, on the inside of the position, right? I'm like this on this grab. I just want to release this hook. If the hook wasn't there, I wouldn't even waste my time on this. I would pin it, touch it, and turn it. And now we're doing the same thing. But he's a good player. He should not have had a dead limb. Every limb should have been touching me at this point. So you're crazy if you're sitting here because you're going to give me that limb to touch like that and manipulate it. No, you've just latched on to me because what is your goal? To hike me up in the air after? So you shouldn't have had a dead limb anyway. So bottom players should have had a connection right away. You're trying to get rid of one of those connections. So now you got your frame, your flare. Where's your head position? Driving to this hip. He's in carry right away. As I'm dropping, he's framed. Okay, I'm up. I wouldn't drive that out. Ethan already shrimped, all right? That's what I was asking before, no shrimping, okay? Otherwise, I'm going back on the leg. I'm on the outside of the ligament. Where am I going? This way. I'm pushing out and back stepping. Let's start with that one, and then we'll keep adding to it. Everything's exactly the same. I'm like this, right? Lay back down, right? So in one of them, we were like this on the outside of this ligament. And now I'm going, okay, I'm dropping and I'm driving, right, to see if I can take your back or get this shoulder over and now get control of this elbow, and now perfect, okay? And then on the second one, it was like this. And I tried to get my leg. I was like this, and he was stabilized, and I threw this hook. I'm like this, okay? Just a quick thing. I know, you watch these DVDs and everything, and they'll go like this. They'll go, okay, control this limb, and like sit back. And I've shown it also like that, because that's how you should do it. But in high-level comp, by the time you do all of this, he's read it 6 times over, and he's read and reacted about 5 times, and he's already out the door on you, okay? Because you'll never get these heels, and then he turns this way, and he goes through his whole process of getting away from me. I want these toes, so I'm like this. And now I control with this hand, and I capture with this. And you're gonna leave me, I understand. You might try to get away with this way, but now it's hard because I was under these toes. And you might try to go that way on me. But on this way, okay, so I follow you also. And now on the opening of the turn, this is really tight right now. This is a small arch that thing will come off, right? So I go in backwards, right? I do the thing that like you'd say, oh, that's wrong. No, it's not. Because on the high level games, it's the grip and then the insertions on the leg later, right? Because you're gonna go, he's not staying there. So when you watch it sometimes, you might buy a DVD and he's showing you all these things, you go, oh, and then you try to do it live, you go, hey, you can't catch anybody like that. He's gotta be like new to the game, like, so on your grip, expect a turn, understand your leg weavings, okay? But that's just so we put it in your head. Now we like the times that we got a couple minutes. Some things are happening. Sometimes when you go flare, this leg might be like this, okay? Sometimes you're like this, and you just brought this leg up. This thing's like sitting in this weird tweener. You're not on here, and you're like, there's no way I can sit back on this leg. Guy's shrimping so far on me, and every time he's like doing this, like he's all different reads, right? He might be too low on it, and now you just dropped, and you're like this, and you're going, damn, not even under it. How can I sit back on the leg? And he's starting to shrimp, and he's trying to put that shield through on me. He's like he's doing everything right. He knows his leg's dangerous spot. I'm gonna take my far side leg and extend my leg out, like this. I'm like this at this point, okay? I was trying to bring this leg up. The same thing I did from the beginning, right? I was flared on that knee. I brought this leg up, like this. And I'm like this at this point. And I'm driving into him, and that's what he should, and he's supporting me. So I just put this leg underneath him, and I extend this guy out. Because all I'm gonna do is move my body over. And now I'm coming right back in on the hunt here, right? So I didn't do anything. I didn't try to muscle you. I just changed my directions every single time. Every time you counted, I changed my directions, okay? So I'm very simple, right? So now you gotta read and react of where this kneecap is, what the positioning is, where it's down, like this, like this, like this. It's all different ones. But on this one, we did everything exactly the same. I go flare, I'm like this, I go, shit. He's pushing me away, and I'm like, there's no way. By the time I fall back, he's already jamming this guy through, and I'm like, uh-oh. So I put this guy as a stabilizer, extend this guy out, and I move my hips over about 5-6 inches, and I'm back in on the hunt of this hop arm, okay? I didn't fight you. I went position from the very beginning. But okay, you want to keep reacting. I'm not going to go strength for strength. I'm going to assume everybody's stronger than me, faster than me, quicker, more powerful, can bench press 6 times my body weight, all these things. So I don't want to think of this game as a strength game of me power. Yeah, I know. Guys will tell me, I'm 285 pounds, and this guy, so, okay, you are. And I'm not that. So I want to play the game technical, and I want to take you apart with technique. So I didn't do anything different, okay? I did everything exactly at the beginning. I was reading the position of the kneecap. Was it vertical? Was it at 45? Did it hit the bottom line? Right? And within that, you're going to have these gray areas. That's why I say it really is a beautiful chess game. Right? And that knee line's going like this. And you're going, oof, which one should I do? Which one should I do? Right? So now you have a third, right? I'm going to ask you not to go vertical with it and stay low, okay? Because that far side leg is going to try to pummel over and get in front of me because he's got to recover this leg. So I don't want any of that to happen. So I was like this, and I'm driving this, and I keep my head down. Because if I do this and I put this leg up, He's going to throw that guy over. He's going to land him like this. And now we got an issue that I got to change the whole direction of this path. If this were to happen, what did we say? All we're doing is dropping this kneecap and coming right back like this to come back this way. Right? I don't care. You want to keep doing all the things you want to do. And he's expending a ton of energy. I'm just flipping my hips. Right? So if you do encounter that, that's what you do. But we're not even trying to go there. We don't even want this to happen. Because some shit's, I don't want to curse, but stuff can go bad on that drop. Maybe he's 6'4", and when I drop at this angle like this, he's pushing me even harder because I'm 5'8", he's 6'4", and he got arms like this, and he's pushing me down the line, and he's recovering his knee lines. So I could potentially, right? Like this, like this. Take this leg out as far as I can. I'm driving in also. All I'm doing is moving he's the guy supporting me, right? Don't let me go, because I'm going to hit you in the face, right? So I'm going, right? I didn't have to, but I'm going to hump with my hands, okay? So you can do anyone. You got about 6 seconds. Do not retract your head back. And a lot of people are doing that. And there's something else I want to point out that Beck just did. You're here like this, right? You go down into the pocket. Do it how you did it before. He flared, right? He flared. He went like this. He dropped the knee. Okay, stay right there. Some people will notice it. I know she did. There was a point. He did it not as bad this time. There was a point when he brought his leg home like this. He took his head and he went like this. Right? It was minimal this time. Before it was more exaggerated. I never retract my head. Once my head's in that pocket, I just drive and drive and drive and drive and drive. You do not back out. Right? Go back in there. You do not back your head out. He just flared. Go. This head just drives and drives and drives. You never come like this. You don't pick your head up when you just won real estate and now you're picking this leg and you're going like this. You're picking this leg up and there's a moment you're going like this. My head's like this and I go, and I just keep driving forward. You do not back out of that pocket, right? You won position. Now you're going to give that up. And then what is he going to do when you give it up? He's going to put his hands back in front of you. He's going to try to jam his fingers in your throat, trying to push your nose up. Hell no. You drive on that position. One more time, Joy. Right? You just one position. Right? Flare and drive. Yes, sir. Those here, nothing comes between me and you at this point. I'm going to touch you. I drive forward. Okay? One other thing on this. Just be careful with this. Now, it's not the end of the world. I'm like this at this point. And I told you before, pick this leg up. And I told you to transfer like this. This is much different than when I'm like this. And I went like this, and I go, huh, and I make this long turn because he's got his hands inside of me. And he's pushing me, and he's trying to connect one to the other. And now he's spinning on me to get back this leg and turn this over. Two different angles that you got to play. They're both very, very different, right? When I'm side control, I don't want this far side leg touching here. So be careful when you're like this, that you think you're going to turn this and just come up like this. Like if I'm coming up like that, as Steve is pushing me, right, and he's coming up, I got to be able to push and turn over. This is where I want it to be. I want it to be on the outside of the tricep lines with my legs squeezing. Just be careful if you're going to pop forward in side position. You're not that far from that leg, dude. And that leg's going to come over like this. That's totally different than on this guy that I'm like this. And I spin it to the top and now I shoot forward like this because I got to get to these kneecaps. Because he's going to be pushing. BJJ 101 is they frame like this. And they put this inside. And that's how they get your way. Zeke, you do this a lot where the guy escapes on you. We want no more escapes. I can't capture this because we run out of time. And